thought, view, knowledge, comment on specific problems, and air considered views on courses of action to best follow in dealing with the world, to help us come to terms with history, politics, economics, education, and etc. So I and I don't repeat past errors. And instead of always trying to catch up with the world, the Rastafari reasoning seeks to stimulate creative thinking. Yes, the Rastafari reasoning is an initiative of the Education Commission of the Rastafari Council Ghana. And tonight, we're having another such powerful reasonings. This reasoning will be led by Dr. Sadia Nuhu, also known as we popularly call him Empress Sadia. She's a psychologist. Tonight, her topic is reclaiming our stories, Rastafari women and African women in biblical narratives. So, my Lord and Empresses, not to take so much of your time, I invite Empress Sadia to lead the reasoning. Rastafari.
Selassie, Rastafari,
That's
Raskopi.
it.
Thank you very much for the introduction. And without further ado, as Rastafari people, we have gone through a lot of oppression, suppression, and our identity has been stolen as Africans. And all the course of our Rastafari journey is the effort to correct all these misrepresentations, falsification, theft of African civilization, history, and narrative. So we will have the narrative to tell our own story. With that being said, I think our topic today for African women and the Rastafari woman and Africans in the Bible. First of all, let me say today I've had a long day. I woke up 6 o'clock. I've been gone. So I'm taking some tourists around and I just came back. So my mind is still on fire. So forgive me if my thoughts become fragmented. Let this be a supportive interaction where we reason together. Okay, so with that being said, I want to say, where is the place of the Rastafari woman and the African woman? And looking at biblical narratives, what role do we play? Who are we? In ancient Egyptian, African civilizations, the woman was revered as supreme, as God. Well, we might not take it as a literal sense of God, but why not? Even Jesus Christ or the Bible admonished us to know that we are gods. The Bible said, know ye not that ye are gods. So what if in African society, the woman was known as a god or a goddess? She was recognized as divine, life giver, and sacred force of creation. Also in ancient Kemet, the African woman, the goddess Isis, was revered as a supreme mother, a healer, protector, and restorer of life. She represented wisdom, power, and resurrection. So this tells us that the feminine principle itself was divine within African communities. Across West Africa, we saw the Yoruba who revere the goddess Oshun. She represents the energy of love, fertility, sweet waters, and this again shows that creation cannot exist without the feminine. Also seen among the Akan, they have Asasi Ya. Earth Mother is the moral foundation of the Akan society. When we look at the Gan society, they refer God as Ata Na Numo, God the Father and God the Mother. When you look into Yoruba, not Yoruba, the Ewe, they have Mawu Sobolisa, which also connotates the balance, the divine nature of God being a father and a mother. So what does this mean? It means that in Africa, in the African thought, woman is not separate from God. She is the manifestation of divine life. She carries the power that brings spirit into flesh, and that alone is sacred. We have a Rasta song that goes, I was not created in sin and iniquity, but love created I and I. So they have made the the act of procreation to be a sinful thing. And so they created, the Europeans came and they said that we are sinners because of the biological function of procreation. And so we are all sinners. But we are not sinners, as the Rasta song said. We were loved. We were loved. Our parents made love, and as a result, we came out. So we see God in her feminine and God in the masculine as a balance. This is how it's always been in Africa. The woman has always been respected. The woman has always been revered, and she has always had a place in our society. This balance can also be seen within Rastafari. As we know, Emperor Ali Selassie made sure that Empress Menen was crowned or coronated to be his equal, if I may say so, to show the balance, that he was not superior to his queen, his empress. He did not demonstrate to us that he felt a sense of superiority towards her or that she had any lower status. And so he made sure that him and the empress were crowned on the same day. We also have African women in leadership as the queen mothers that were known as Candidates, women who govern not only politically but spiritually. We see that from the queen of ancient custom. The queen of Sheba ruled Ethiopia. Her wisdom was known around the world. There was a queen called Candace in the Bible, the Acts of the Covenant, whom around her reign, the Ethiopian Enoch got baptized by Philip, and around that time, Ethiopia started to practice Christianity. So all of this makes us know that the woman was seen in African culture as somebody that was a divine, or the culture saw God as divine, masculine, and feminine, working together in harmony. So how did this change? This changed with the coming of the European colonialism and European encounter. Europeans came and then they changed the narrative, and then they made God to be superior, and God was to be a man and superior to woman. They reduced the roles of women, reframed God in strictly male imagery, whereby in the Holy Scriptures or in the Scriptures, it would say God the Father, God the Mother, God the Holy Spirit. So what happened to God the Mother, right? Very good question. So these are all the efforts that they had made to suppress and to reduce the woman in society. We have seen in the Akan society, the matriarch, the mother is the matriarch of the family. They inherit through the matrilineal system, where the mother is the true owner of a child. So the kingship lineage comes from the woman, the royal female, the queen mother. The queen mother installs the king. The queen mother is a kingmaker, is what I'm trying to say. In Akan society, the queen mother is the one that appoints, or that appoints who the next king should be. She's the one that put the king in check. The queen mother. The queen mother, I think, is the mother of the king, or a woman of high status that is related to the king. If it's not the mother, it could be the auntie or a sister of the king's mother. I thought it could also be the wife, but I stand to be corrected. But in all this, it shows that the power of the woman within the Ashanti community. We know that in the Ashanti community, when the king misbehaves, the queen mother has the power to distool him. And recently, Otumfuo, the current Otumfuo, was speaking about the power of the women, the Akan women within the Akan governance system. He said that the king and his council, they usually go and listen to the queen mothers or the women in their community. They consult them for wisdom. He said that all their rules and their system of governance, like let's say when they come up with laws or rules to govern the community, these were created from the women. So they go there and the women instruct them what to do, is what he said. But he said when they come out and they come into the society to rule, they show the power of the men. And the women sit in dignity behind the scenes as if they have no power. But he's saying that actually they are behind them with their power, and they have given them the power to speak everything that they come out to speak. It's sought from the women. And so if they don't speak well, when they go back, they have the women to say. Now, let me read this speech from His Majesty. His Majesty Emperor Ali Selassie said in 1960, he said, African civilization in its potential magnitude must be able to command fortitude, patience, tolerance, and diligence. To sustain us in all our tasks, we count on the women of Africa. Without their relentless and vigilance, no aspect of our responsibilities can be attained. Women's role has never been so demanding, and you can be proud to answer the call to the betterment of the future of mankind. That's what His Majesty said about African women. So we are seeing that the role of African women is very significant. We play many roles here. Before the colonial era, a lot of African women were the builders. When I say builders, I mean the actual people that build the house. They, in the north, I have seen it with my own eyes. When I was 4 years old and I used to visit my grandmother's village, which is in Wiaga, somewhere across Sandema or Bolgatanga, to be precise, for people who don't know the north very well. During my early years, I was like 4 years old going up. Anytime I went there, I realized that the women were the ones that built the house, and the men went to weed the farm. The men tilled the farm, and the women built the house. And I'm talking about the entire house. And they built it with cow dung, clay, mixed together with water. I don't know what else they put in it. So anytime the house was broken, The women will come together. They came together to fix one person's house. Then they go to the next person's house to fix it. Then like that until everybody's house was done. They did the work in communal. It's not one person. So the women came together to support each other so they can have the house built. They also like on the flooring of the house was done by women. And then when they finish, they paint the house with some peculiar artworks. So this was the role of women. Women carry babies to fruition to 9 months. Women nurture the families. That's the role. We provide nourishment. We make sure that the family is well cared for. We make sure that everybody's clean, everybody's happy. All of that is on the shoulder of women. And her role in our families and society is a very crucial one, very important one. I'm losing my train of thought a little bit. I'm really tired, but yeah. So you see the drift where I'm going. Women are very important. So we are life givers. We are culture bearers. As culture bearers, because we have the responsibility of carrying the children, giving birth and raising the children from infancy. We are the ones that the children are closest to in the sense that, you know, um, maybe when the men go to work or go to the farm or go to wherever, they have to go and bring the food home. Women, not just in today's time, in ancient times and today. I mean, today's time, women don't stay home solely anymore. Yes, still the child is close to us. In today's time, when we have a child, we are the ones that take the child to daycare, and we are the ones that pick up the child. Well, many times we do have help. We have our men helping us. But if we want to be in more, traditional sense, the woman is home cooking. The woman is home making instruction. She's making sure when we are cooking, we are also teaching our children, whether male or female. In some cultures, in some homes, they just restrict cooking to only a female role. But in other homes, I've witnessed that men and women cook together. It doesn't matter if we're male or female. We all make sure that, when mom is cooking, we are picking up the cooking skills. So that's how we know um, how to cook. But what is more cultural than the food we eat? We know that we are eating our millet, our sorghum, our dawa, our fufu, banchi, ampesi, and all the foods in the world. The nourishment that it gives to our body and whatever food represents. When we were kids, women would tell a storytelling, nurture the cultures within what we practice. So how we grow up knowing our cultures, knowing our language. Yeah, we grow up speaking our language because we communicate at home, and all of those things. When the floor is open, you can add more. Women are spiritual nurturers. We pray for our children. We pray for the family, and we maintain some rituals that are important, for the upkeep of the community and the family. So again, the patriarchal system has interrupted this and put the African or women into the background. So biblically, the role of the African women have also been highlighted in the leadership role and professional roles, activist roles. Women have played parts in all of this. When we come to activist role, in the Bible, we saw the woman Rachel, I think it's Rachel, when she hid the Israelites. So I would just like to say, if we're going to say that, okay, there was a chosen people who were God's people, and they were coming to spy on the land, to take the land for for God, it was a very heavy task. It was a risky one, and their lives were at stake. But when they came, they went to the house of Rachel, the prostitute, and she was able to hide them and assist them in their quest. So when they were able to, when they were successful in taking the land, they gave her a special honor. And her lineage is the one that Jesus Christ came from. So just the activist role of Rachel saw to it that victory came. Also we have Queen Esther. Queen Esther also played an activist role. I won't go into details in the story. If we've read our Bible, we know the story of Queen Esther. We also know about what other women played activist roles in the Bible. We know about, talking about activist role. We have Moses' wife, Keturah, who is from Ethiopia. We have Moses' sister, Moses and Aaron's sister, who were also assisting Moses, who was assisting Moses and Aaron in their mission. We also have in Egypt, in biblical terms, we had Pharaoh's daughter, because anyway, I won't go there. I was going to explain Egypt, but we all know Egypt is Africa. When they have distorted the map and tried to deceive the West that Egypt is not part of Africa, they have made Egypt like a white man's country, whitewashing the pharaohs and everything that's there. That's why I was going there, but I know that we are Rastafari, so we know Egypt is Africa. So the Pharaoh's daughter took care of Moses, and so that's an activist role. We have the Queen of Sheba and a whole lot of other females who played active roles in the Bible. Now, when we come to Africa, we know about Nana Yaa Asantewaa, Queen Yaa Asantewaa, when the British were here bordering us, and the Ashanti men had gone to war. They had warred so much with the British, and they got tired. And just when they got complacent, Queen Nana Yaa Asantewaa said, "We're not going to allow you to do that. If you, the men, would not fight, then we, the women, will." So Yaa Asantewaa was an activist who made sure that, they fought against the British. Excuse me. We see other queens like, let me see. We see Empress Menen. Empress Menen, when she spoke about war, and she said, war is a human tragedy and problem. She said, although the women of the world live in different countries with different races and religion, the war actions are destroying their husbands, brothers, sons, families, and all living beings. As women, we are against war. We know that all Italian mothers and barren women can worry about the war because war is not good. It is good for nothing. Therefore, all women in the world must stop the war before it causes problems and stress. They must cooperate in the vote to end the war before bloodshed on both sides. So that was when Italy invaded Ethiopia, the Queen of Sheba, Empress Menen made this utterance. So we see that women or African women, we don't sit in the background. We are not weak, as has been portrayed. They say women are the weaker sex. There's nothing like the weaker sex. Women have our strengths. As men have their strength, women have our weak areas, as men have our weak areas. So we complement each other, right? So that idea that women are the weaker sex, that came from European powers or the patriarchal system of the West. So that is not something that equates us they say that a woman's place is in the kitchen, and that has not been true. My observation in African societies, the woman's place has not been solely in the kitchen. We have contributed greatly to nation building and nation advancement. We go to the market and we are great entrepreneurs. We sell, we buy, and we use our proceeds to support our own homes. We have helped our children's education, and we have helped in nation building with our entrepreneurial skills. We have done so many other things to help build the nation other than being in the kitchen. We are philosophers, we are scientists, and we've created things that society benefits from. So we are not, the weaker sex, and we are not, our place is not in the kitchen only. So these are some of the things that are on my mind. Like I said, I've been out and I haven't been at home all day. So I'm just speaking fragments from my thoughts. We've also been priestesses, African women. We've not just been in the kitchen, we've been priestesses. We've been spiritual warriors and contributing to the growth of our society spiritually. We've been queens with divine authority, and we have embodied the goddess status. So women have been worshipped as supreme mother goddesses. We have wisdom to support and to nurture our kings, our husbands, through the wisdom of the African woman. I can't say that if you need something from a king, you better be nice with his woman. Yeah, because if you need something from the king, you want to borrow money or you want something, and you go and tell the king that you need this and that, he tell you, okay, I've heard, let me think about it. I'll get back to you. And do you know what happens? During pillow talk, when he's laying down with his woman, that's when he's going to say, Asumesi came to me to ask me for this and that and that. What do you think? That is where, if the woman doesn't like you, she's going to advise the king or the man not to do it. If you are in good favor with a woman, then she's going to advise the king in your favor. And mostly what a queen says or what a woman says, that's what goes. That's what a man is going to do. So that's why in Akan society, they say, be nice with a king's wife or be nice with a man's wife, because that's where the power lies. The power that lies with a woman is not boisterous, it's something very subtle. Okay. So I've also heard, who has the right to slap the king? And I'm not promoting violence, but it's a thing in our culture, in our society that I've noticed. So that's what I'm speaking on. Only the queen has a right to slap the king. And that means that when the queen is displeased with the king, she's not going to slap him in public, but in private, she might strike. And that's between the king and the queen, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's where some of the powers of the queen lie. And I think, since my mind is tired and I'm just speaking, I would like this to be interactive. So I'm going to pause and if you have, some thoughts, if I said something you want to correct or question, or you have something to contribute, the floor is open. You can do that. And maybe I'll gather my thoughts and pick it up again. So the floor is open. Give thanks.
Yeah. Thank you very much. The first thing I like to salutations to everybody. The first I like to say is the prostitute you're talking about in Jericho was Rahab, not Rachel. Rahab. Yeah, Rahab, not Rachel.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perhaps so the woman activist. You forgot about Deborah. Maybe you might chip in Deborah.
Go
a
ahead
little
and
about.
you chip in. That's why I've opened it up. So give us some background information on Deborah. Please go ahead.
I think she fought with. There was one of the judges who said he couldn't fight alone. So Deborah had to go with him to war. I'm trying to. Is it Gideon? I'm not very sure. I have to open the books and then. Yeah, but one of the judges. So Deborah is one of the ladies, perhaps. Yes, that is it.
Yeah. So Deborah is a lady judge in the book of Judges. Yeah. Yeah, right, Russ. Anyway, I don't know if we can all hear, but the discussion is open. So if you have some thoughts about this, about Deborah, about anything else you want to put in, please go ahead. Feel free.
Yes, my sister. I want to thank you for what you just shared with us. I was just thinking that it's important some of the some points you raised, like the way you make us rethink weakness. When you say that men have their weaknesses and women have their strengths too. Like we need a balance. I like how you started and you're talking about balance a lot, and I love the thing you said about the Ga Atana, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
father, mother, you know. So yeah, really appreciate the way you did strike the balance. And love the part where you say who has the right to slap the king or who has the right to decide on who becomes the king. Is the woman, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you could be so abrewa, ayabi omo, things like that, right? Yeah. So we for put those things in perspective and I think say it go and I like how you say the power is subtle, right? Because we tend to think of power in terms of, something explosive up front because something we can see, So the man may be like that, but there's another kind of power here where we just see where it's a very real thing, but because of the way that it expresses it, sometimes it looks invisible to us. So thank you very much for touching on those things. And I think say it'd be important that we go develop those ideas too. What does it mean? Because it's not just information, right? So if we know
Mm-hmm.
this, then how do we operate together? So thank you. Thank you, Empress.
Thanks. So how do we operate within the Rastafari community, having some of these pointers that we have shared? So please help me out. Bring out some reasonings, because this is also a reasoning. So the floor is still open.
Rastafari.
So last year,
Yeah, give thanks and praise. We are learning.
Rastafari. Mm-hmm.
So I think one point you made is that Europeans, when they came to Africa, introduced their religion, culture, education, changed that women god concept, or they silenced it. Um, I want to find out from your perspective, what do you think is the reason why they would want to silence the woman? Yes, thank you.
Okay. Give thanks. I think they have the patriarchal system, the Europeans. Let's look at um, patriarchy. The patriarchal system makes man more powerful. So I think they are afraid of the power of women, right? In my most simplest term, they are afraid of the power that woman possesses. And I don't want to be so philosophical and go deeper today because, like I said, I haven't sat here to prepare my notes today. So I won't go deep, but I will hint. And if anybody has some wisdom in here or some knowledge about this, you can share. Even the menstruation of a woman is seen as something that is very negative. But some of my encounters spiritually, not personally, but maybe what I have read or heard is that the menstruation of a woman is a very, very powerful thing to occur. So all of these things for the African, it was okay. We were okay with, the power of the woman. We harnessed it and we used it. But for the Europeans, they were afraid of the power of the woman. So everything that connects with a woman, they made it inferior, and they changed the metrical system into the patriarchal system as a way of controlling women. It's a way to control women and put them down. As to why, in fact, the only reason why I can say for right now would be because of the fear of the power of women. So that's how they did the patriarchal system to dominate women. If anybody has some more to share, please, the floor is open.
Rastafari?
The last CI.
Yes, I. The woman is naturally, the woman is the first teacher. And as we know, women and men, or when you're a young girl or a young man, you mature at different stages of life. Like for a female, we grow, we're taller and we mature faster. When we reach our cycle, we've already done most of our growing. We don't grow much more after that. Whereas the male, yes, he starts to grow more 13, 14, and on up. He's still growing, whereas we've done most of our growing. So that we mature faster, yes, is to control the mind of the woman because the woman is the natural teacher. So that's what that patriarchal system forced on us. Give that.
Give thanks, Empress Emma. Yes. So just like she said, it is to control the minds of the woman so that the men can dominate. Yeah, so we are on the right track. And I give thanks for this contribution. The floor is still open. Let's make it a reasoning, not a lecture or anything like that.
Yeah, sister.
Yes.
Give thanks for the reasoning, Yeah. You've drawn my mind to a lot of things. But as you were talking about how Europeans are more or less afraid of woman power. And immediately my mind started racing, and it ended up in several palaces in Europe. Because I can talk about Queen Victoria, Queen Elizabeth II. Can go to Katrina in Russia. So how do you resolve that? I mean, yes. And then also as a teacher, if you want to be a good teacher, don't assume your students know. Because you wanted to say something about Egypt and then you just stepped on the brakes. Please, there's something we call reinforcement in education. You can reinforce what we know already. There's nothing wrong in saying, at least when you're preparing your soup, you might add some ingredients that Dave might not add, or that Vero might not add, or that book I read did not add. So don't hold back. If you feel like telling us something about Egypt, explaining, please go ahead and explain. We may know it, but it will serve as reinforcement. Yes, I give thanks.
Yeah, give thanks. Yeah, you have raised some great points about the female rulers in Europe, right? You have, and as far as what I was talking about Egypt, I did elaborate. I said Egypt was portrayed as a European civilization, right? If you heard me saying that. I was trying to clarify, I was trying to show us that Egypt is not in Africa. I mean, Egypt is Africa. Then I remembered that, for basic information, all of us here know Egypt is Africa. That's what I'm trying to say, Ras. And that's why I didn't go there. I do interact outside of here, and when I'm teaching like American kids, they may not know the geography of Egypt. So that's when I caught myself and retracted. But I was trying to say that whatever I said was about the goddess Isis, right? So that part has been clarified. There's no more to add. Egypt is Africa. We all know that. But as to why the Queen Elizabeth and a whole lot of other European queens ruled in spite of patriarchal system, it's only to re-emphasize the power that women hold. I think these Europeans knew the power of women. And I think in their line of succession, it fell upon the women to rule. So they allowed the women to rule, right? So even if you watch how their system is, even though women rule, there are a lot of instances where they have tried to suppress the woman in so many ways, even though they have a woman ruler. But I would like to add that the women rulers of most of them were African women. And so this is some information or some education I'm trying to add here for us to go and research and find out. The Black queens of England, they were actually the first one to rule came from one African country that I don't remember. And they had an alliance with that country. And then that country gave them a wife, a woman to wife in their system. Just like Kwame Nkrumah got a wife from Egypt, right, to strengthen political ties. I think that was Queen Charlotte, if I'm not right. And if somebody knows better, you can give me that information, right? So I'm not the type of teacher that cannot learn from the student because we are all learning. We are all learners. Every day we are learning. So in this room, we are all learners, and this is a reasoning. So yes, if you have the knowledge or the information and I didn't put it in, please, I have made it okay. You can come in and you can share what you want to share. So, but the British monarchs, most of them have origins in African, they are African, and they try to hide their African features when they paint them. They try to whitewash them. When they do their makeup to appear in public, they try to make their features more Europeanized. So this is a fact that I'm leaving with you. Go and research that. Thank you. But the floor is still open. I hope I answered your question, and if not, or if somebody has more to add or take away, the floor is open.
One lady came in just before you reacted to, just before I came in, and she said something about women, ladies maturing faster than boys or something like that. I did not understand that, but before she comes to make it clearer, um, I think that when you look in our language, the power of language, in at least the Ghanaian languages that I know, and the few European languages that I know, you will see say when somebody they go, I say oko. You don't need to make it masculine or feminine. Oko. It could be it's neutral. But in Europe, but in French, you say L or il. So they immediately that pronoun, there's a feminine pronoun for that, and there's a female pronoun for, there's a masculine pronoun for that. But in our local language, you don't have that one. Iya, iba. We hardly see, but even when you go to European languages, there's a pronoun like she's going, he is coming. In French, elle, il. In English, he and she. But in African language, at least so far as I know, in Ghanaian languages that I know, I don't know Swahili. I've not done any research into that. Maybe I should go and look into that. But as far as I know, as far as I'm concerned, Ghana is concerned, we don't have a special pronouns for ladies and special pronouns for men. It's the same thing. So yeah, that's what I would like to chip in. But if the lady could come in and explain further as to, why she's saying or that women mature faster than, I did not get it very well. Maybe some example will help me. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, I.
Empress Emma, are you still with us? Okay. She's here, but she's not responding. Um, let me
I'm
chip in
here.
before she
I'm
comes.
here.
Oh, okay, good. Go ahead, Empress. We're waiting for your response. Empress Emma, I think you are muted. If you are trying to speak, we can't hear you. You are muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Right. I was saying I didn't hear what he said. You were looking for a response.
The brother has
Yes.
spoken, and he said that he wasn't able to comprehend when you said men mature, women mature
Okay.
faster than men.
So
He wants you to
biologically,
explain. Yes.
our bodies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Girls mature at an earlier age. Like, okay, so when we're younger, girls are actually taller than boys. And then it reaches an age where boys become taller than girls. Right. So when we're okay, so for the female, yes,
Mm-hmm.
when we do most of our growing before we have our cycle. After,
Mm-hmm.
yes, after we get our cycle, we don't grow much more. An inch or
Mm-hmm.
so or two, right? We don't grow much
Mm-hmm.
more. But so that's, cycle can be 13, 14, even younger, right? So we've done most of our growing by then. Whereas the male child, he starts to grow past 13, 14, 17, 18, 19. He's still growing in height, right? Whereas we've already finished. We've already reached our growth, right? And even in the matureness of the mind, right? Even when you go to school and boys are more playful, uh, and stay more playful for a longer period of time than girls. So we mature faster than the male, right? But like I said, it comes a time when the male begins to mature when we've already and grow when we've already finished. Right. I hope that helped
Uh,
him.
Thank you very much.
I
Thank
would
you very
like to.
much. Very much,
I would
sister.
like to.
Thank you.
I would like to chip in to support what she's saying. So now let's bring it biologically and see something. You know that a woman is going to have a baby. So
Mhm.
nature prepares her to be able to take on this task. So imagine bringing forth a child into the world and not having the mental and biological
Mhm.
um, maturity to be able to fend for yourself and fend for the child, right? So nature is going to prepare the lady's mind to mature earlier because she has that task of um,
Giving
raising
birth.
a child. She has the task of carrying a child in her body for 9 months, delivering this child, and then raising this child. So naturally, a girl's mind and her body is going to mature a lot faster. So that's what they're saying. So I have an article here that says females typically mature earlier than males, where females start the adolescent period around 10, 11 years, and males around 11 and above years old. So, I hope that helps.
Give thanks.
Give
Yes, I'm
thanks.
very
Okay.
I'm very grateful. Yes, I'm very grateful.
Okay. So I think that, in our upbringing, we've been conditioned, unless a person has gone to reverse that conditioning, right, of the mind that says that, women are inferior to men. And because of this concept, there's been a lot of injustice against women. And, appealing to the Rastafari, I would like for us to start reshaping our minds when we think about the place of a woman in our lives, where we can look to His Imperial Majesty and see how, particularly His Majesty related to women, the women in his life. That's his mother, his brothers, and his sisters, and the cousins, the aunties, them particularly to his queen. We would say that we do, or our brothers here can say that, we probably do. But sometimes, subliminally, in the back of our minds, that feeling that a woman is inferior is still there. So I want us to, examine that. And if we don't even speak on it today, from today going, let's shape something within our minds to know that our women are not weak and we are not inferior. When you go to war, you can leave the home for us to manage, right? When you go to the farm as hunters, when you come home, the house is managed. Managing a house is, I'm just saying, even like, not that that is our own domain, our only domain. This is just an example. When you come, a weak person cannot take care of your children and your house for it to function successfully, right? So that notion that women are inferior has been drummed into us. And we need to start to remove that concept and correct it to know that women are our equal partners. We are partners. So I know that, one observation I had was in the Bobo Shanti. You will see a man walking maybe 6 steps ahead of his woman. So the woman was never supposed to walk by the side of her man, but she was supposed to walk behind the man. And that I cannot understand that concept. I'm not condemning it or anything, but how do you see your partner, your woman, the person that you are one with, and then now she's inferior and she has to walk behind you? That I don't understand. And we can clear this. If you have any explanation, anybody knows why this happens? Why is the concept that a woman should walk behind a man? I don't see it in our African traditions. The floor is open for this one. Why is the house so quiet? I mean, I want some interaction, but go ahead, Martin.
Yeah. I think that we can't run away from the fact that a woman is more motherly than a man, and therefore a man is more aggressive than a woman. A man can be more cruel than a woman. So at the time when warrior classes ruled the world, you know what I'm saying? When violence was the means of resolving all conflict, all misunderstanding, those classes or those communities did not put much emphasis or much value, much premium on women because they were thinking about in terms of war, those who can kill, those who can destroy. And a woman is motherly, so they hesitate when they have to do that. Not that they can't do that. So that is why this thing cropped into our mentality, into our societies. At the time when societies were very aggressive, how to fight over land, how to hunt and gather, all those things. They were more tuned to the masculine than to feminine. But I think that sometimes, when they say weaker sex and all that, well, immediately you say weaker sex, what they also say is that that same weaker person has got a stronger side. And it's like sometimes We emphasize the weaker one so much, so hard that we forget that there's a stronger side too. So there are rules, and I don't think that we can blur those rules. Men are tuned for certain things, women are tuned for certain things, children are tuned for certain things, and we must not blur them, and we must not lift one above the other. So it is the first time I'm hearing that Bubos have got such a concept. Yes, yeah, yeah, or such a I don't know what to call it. Yes, but if you look, the Bible, for instance, is very masculine. I don't think that the Quran is very different too. So religion, even religion was quite masculine. So Rastafari built upon the foundations of Moses and the prophets and the apostles, naturally might unconsciously promote some of these things. But we are in a new era, a new dispensation. So we must be fast in correcting those things, you see. Yes, we must be fast in correcting those things. Yes. So
Yes.
immediately we say a woman is weak in one sense, let's also remember that that same weakness is a strength somewhere. And that same man, that same masculine strength can be a weakness somewhere. And when we see that, I think that we complement each other and make the world a better place. We need each other. Let us find ways to complement each other. All of us have got strength. All of us have got weaknesses. Let us learn how to live with each other, building up each other. Yes, I. So we can become better people. Thank you, my sister.
Right. That is the objective of this reasoning, is for us to see the strength of both male and female and live in harmony. That's why I said we balance each other. And for Rastafari, the example is His Imperial Majesty, who balanced the equation by making sure that his woman was coronated and sat next to him side by side. So there was no weaker sex in this vision when you look at it. And Jamatin, if you want to say that the Bible emphasizes on a male strength, but we also have the Bible that emphasizes on a lot of feminine strengths. So that means that maybe you are choosing to see the side other than the other side. When you read the Bible, you can see there are some women, like you mentioned, there are women judges, there are women priestesses, warriors, and etc. in the Bible. And like I said, my mind is very foggy today. I can't think too far. But when you read the Bible, you see all those there. You see the strength of a woman. And we also, Sister Emma, Empress Emma, and myself, we explain the patriarchal system and how it came about. And that's how they change things. When you want to look at the African systems, there was no place for a man is more powerful or stronger and dominance over the woman. If you look at it critically, that wasn't there. That's why I mentioned Atana Sobo Maulisa, and as I see, yeah, Africans gave woman her divine place and respect. It is the patriarchal system that came from the West that changed this narrative. So let's make sure that we factor this.
That's tough.
Right.
I still stand by my. I think that we can't run away from the fact that the Bible is a little. But maybe male chauvinist is too harsh, but I think that it has got a masculine culture, and I think that yes, if you remember, the women were not supposed to inherit land; they were not supposed to. So when some sisters, I've forgotten their name, they wanted to. There was nobody. The father had, I think, there were 7 daughters of their father, and they had to go and see Moses, and Moses gave them the chance to. I think he resolved the issue some way somehow. Now, I think there are several instances. I don't want to, but I think that if I want to enumerate, there are several instances where you realize that in the Hebrew culture, the male was put above the female. We can't run away from that. We can't run away from that. That
What we're not
women.
running away from, we are trying to explain, Martin, that we have given you instances, even whether it's in the Bible, whether it's in the African cultural system, wherever, modern African way of thinking, we are trying to say that it was there, and the reason why it was there, and the reason why it is not so, and the reason why we have to give the woman her place and her respect. So I hope you understand where we're going with that. So deviate from the negative and focus on the positives of the African woman, or the women in the Bible. Their strengths. There are women in the Bible that contributed so much. Let's focus on those ones. And the patriarchal system that has made this possible has been explained and established. We are making a distinction. Who brought the Bible to us? King James, right? King James is European, patriarchal. We're talking about the African system, which is balanced. It's either a man or a woman, and it's balanced. We don't see the man as more important than the woman, or the woman as more important than the man. When you talk about in terms of war, we didn't say that in African communities, societies, we didn't say that a woman was weak, so she should stay home. We never said that. There were women on the battlefield with men. Okay. Have you seen the Amazon queens? Where now the African Americans went to research on that and made a movie out of it. Woman King. They were Amazon warriors, female warriors, the Dahomey woman. That's where that story came from. Okay, we've already given you Queen Ilanaya Santua in the northern region, especially during slavery, when the men went to war against the slave raiders, the women were right there by their sides. Women were the ones that were nursing the casualties. When you men go to fight and you lay down slave, who is going to come and attend to you? Who is going to cook your food and make sure we nurse your wounds? It is a woman. The woman was on the battlefield with different roles, and those cannot be done by a weakling. So forget about the fact that somebody said women are weak. We are saying that that's not correct. Let's look at the correct way of looking at a woman. Can you be a weakling and carry a baby in your stomach for 9 months and deliver a baby being weak?
I think that I came in with Deborah to support your argument that women have played roles like this. You remember, I came in with Deborah. But when you said that bubbles, you asked a question about bubbles, if somebody could come to explain. And I wanted to say that because of the biblical heritage, and that's why I said we can't run away from the fact that sometimes the Bible is still, every time God is a he. God has never been a she in the Bible. There's always been a he. You see, so, and I can cite several instances where women do not have the same rights that men had in the Bible. You see, that was how I came in to explain that maybe the Bobo tradition or Bobo rule or whatever stem from this type of, biblical things, That's why I came in with that. But thank you very much for your reasoning. Yes, I.
Thanks. Okay, are we gonna be quiet? I'm inviting everyone to share something.
Greetings. Can you hear me?
Yeah, man, I can hear you.
All right. I wanted to contribute a few thoughts. I believe the phrase "women are the weaker vessel" comes from English. I've been scratching my imagination to find a similar phrase, ga or pi or dangme, or what I'm saying. So that is part of the borrowed culture we're in. And I was glad you reiterated that in Ga, we say Atana Numo, meaning God is unisex, he's neither male nor female. And you see, the Bible is borrowed, it's part of the Bible or the borrowed culture. Unfortunately, that is where our predicament is, because it happens to be one of the standards by which we measure, you know. So I agree with what you're saying. In African tradition, in African culture, the woman was never seen as what you call inferior. Actually, she was the kingmaker. If you look at Asante culture, it is the queen mother who appoints the Asantehene. And there are numerous examples in African history that bear this fact out. So give thanks for your points, and we look forward to an awakening or reawakening of the Empress Menen or the Queen Omega in our system, so that more work can be done, because without the woman, without the sisters, it's like too much testosterone, and then, you know, so we need the balance. And I give thanks for this reason. I look forward to seeing how we can actually practicalize the role or the involvement of the sistering in the works. Give thanks.
Give thanks, Daddy Bosco. Thank you so much for your contribution and emphasizing on the points that we've raised. Ja Beloved, I see your hand, but Bafo Ewa had his hand up first. So please, you have the floor and you can go up. And then after that, Ja Beloved. King Bafo, are you here with us? Can you hear us? Okay. Maybe he stepped away. So, Ja Beloved, you can have the floor, and then if he comes back.
All right. I was hoping he would speak first. So yeah, I think he's unmuted now. I'll let him speak. I saw his.
Can I?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So I said, first and foremost, I give thanks to each and every person on this noble platform. And the point I was going to make, I think that the Bosco scratched the surface for us in terms of the woman power. I can only speak from the Akan perspective, and more especially from the Asante perspective. In terms of the Asante or the Akan concept, there's no man that actually owns a family. In the Akan concept, all the children belong to the woman. The father of the children is only a friend to his children. The father does not own the children. So even when there is a divorce, the children have to go to the side of their mother. In Asante culture, it is the woman who is the foundation of the family in terms of kinship, in terms of rulership, and in terms of divine authority. Everything that you see in a kind system begins and ends with the woman. So the woman might not be in the forefront. The woman might not be that visible, but to take any major decision, even when the men go into council, they have the opportunity to go do their own reasoning, but the final conclusion has to come from the abbreviatia, So even when you are in council, and then the men need to go, or people need to go and make a decision, there's a saying in the Akan language that says that or let's go and consult the old lady. So the old lady or the woman is not just a figure. The old lady or the woman is the embodiment of divine wisdom in Akan. Now, when we bring that into worship, the Akan system, the 7 days, 2 of the days are actually certified days or sanctified days for the worship of the divine feminine. The first day of sanctified worship for the divine feminine is the Thursday, which is the day of Asaseya. So in Akan society, or most Akan societies, on Thursdays, nobody goes to the farm. Nobody tills the land. Nobody weeds. Nobody hunts. Nobody goes to check their traps. Nobody even goes to harvest. So meaning that that day is set aside for the reverence and the worship of Asaseya, and the land is allowed to fallow. So the land itself observes its own Sabbath on Thursday. Thursday is the divine Sabbath for the land, where the land is allowed to reproduce itself. The second day, sanctified for the worship of the divine feminine, is Abna Bosompo, which is the goddess of the sea. And on Tuesdays, even it cuts across most of the other cultures. On Tuesdays, no fisherman goes to sea, meaning that that day is a day that is set aside for the reverence of the divine feminine, which is the Bosompo. So out of the 7 days, the women have 2 special days that they are remembered, they are revered, they are worshipped. And on those days, it comes with certain sacred ceremonies that is done for the reproduction of life, the sustenance of life, to increase abundance and to keep life going. There is no particular day in any Akan system that is set aside for the worship and the reverence of men. And I want to repeat that again. There is no day set aside for the worship and the reverence of men, but women have 2 days out of the week set aside for their reverence, set aside for their worship. And in those days, in the typical Akan system, women have particular rites and ceremonies and rituals that they do. So when a woman is in her menses or in her cycle, we say, Bobuninsa ana oko efichire. In the original context, when we build the fihankra, which is the round house, a house is built at the back of the main house. When the woman is in her cycle, she goes in there, she does not cook, she does not do anything. She has courtiers, people that take care of her, because at that moment that the woman is in her cycle, whatever she is bringing out of her system is considered a blood sacrifice. And the woman is the only one, aside the blood sacrifices that we offer to the gods, to the deities and the divinities, the woman is the only entity that is ascribed or programmed that at the end of every month, she does her own blood sacrifice. So the menses or the cycle is not just a biological situation. The Akans consider that as blood sacrifice for the universe, for the earth, for humanity, for the family. So when she is in that system or in that moment where she is going through her cycle, she's going through a period of a sustained blood sacrifice. So she's revered so much that she has to be taken to the back of the house so that she can reinvent herself. That is the time that her portals begin to open up into higher spaces and into higher dimensions. So talking about, I've heard you make mention about the menses and how people see it as, negative or no. We, in the African system, in the original context, it was not seen as that. And that blood that comes from her has the power to create and the power to destroy if it is not managed properly. A woman in her cycle has the power to make certain things happen that I cannot say on this platform. And a woman in her power has the ability, in her cycle, has the ability to procreate or manifest certain things, not only for herself, but for her children and for the people who are in her bloodline. So it's just to add for you to see that the 2 days that are set aside for these women, they are set aside purposely to continue procreation. That is why the Akan system does not use the solar calendar. The Akan system is based on the lunar system. And then in the lunar system, we have something we call the Osram, which is the moon. The Osram is the moon. So the word Osram is coming from the word Osramu. She's come to visit. But the sun is there every day. But the woman comes, or the power of the woman or the power of the Osram comes once in a month. And that one is tied into the system whereby the woman goes through a system once every month in her cycle. So that cycle is represented by the Osram, which is the moon. So there's the time that the woman is going through all that flow or that cycle is actually to recalibrate together with the moon cycle, which is the Osram. So there are secrets and there are codes to this, because during warfare, the blood of the woman in her cycle is used for so many things in warfare, to build and to destroy. That is why she has to be managed in a way, a manner that does not affect the people around her. So it is just misconception, misinterpretation of the divine doctrines of our ancestors. And that is why we have gotten to this point. And if you look at my final presentation is on why women have to always go through a system of initiation called the bragro. So when the woman goes through the first cycle, that cycle there is so sacred that the whole community has to come and celebrate the woman's first cycle. And then she goes through series of initiation by all the high-ranking women, the market women, the queen mothers, the priestesses, the this, the that, and she has to be initiated to become a woman. So in our Akan system, women just don't grow up and become women just because they have breasts, just because they are in their cycle. No, they are initiated to become women. And during that initiation, there are secret knowledge that is imparted onto those women. And those women, because they are the curators of the homes, the curators of the community, the curators of the culture, the curators of kinship, the curators of divinity itself, that is why they have to be properly initiated to become women. There's a lot more to it, but then I will end up over here. So we need to find ways now to start, worshiping the worship of the woman, the worship of femininity, the worship of the divine feminine. It has to be incorporated in Rastafari teachings. That way, then the woman can now see her true worth based not on biblical stories, not based on religious stories, but based on the rules and regulations that has been set aside by the land itself. Because all power on earth, every divinity, every voodoo, every deity, to build a shrine, we don't build it in the sky. for the sky god. Even the shrine for the sky god, it is built on the land, on Asasea. The shrine for the thunder god is built on the land, Asasea. Every shrine, every power is buried on earth. It is not shot into the heavens. So she absorbs all these powers to make the community alive. So, for instance, if we put I want us to do this exercise right away. Put your two palms together side by side. If you put your palms together side by side, you are supposed to see the fallopian tube. Can we see it?
Yeah.
If you put your two palms together, you will see the picture of the fallopian tube. Now, this fallopian tube in Islam, the 99 names of Allah is actually connected to what you are seeing in your palm. That is why in Islam, when we pray in Islam, we put the palms together, the sides of the palms together. And then when we pray, it is the fallopian tube that you see in your palm that is used to receive the prayers from the realms of the heavens so that you can manifest it quick. You never see any Muslim praying with their fist or their palm closed. You only see Muslims praying when they do what? They put the sides of their palms together. And all those ones, if you look at even how Muslims bury, Christians and all other religions, they bury with only one hole. But in Islam, there are two holes. The first hole is dug, and the second hole is dug in the hole. So there are two holes that are dug for every Muslim. And that one replicates the woman's reproductive organ. So the woman's reproductive organ is enacted on the land, and then the person is buried into it. So where you came from a woman's reproductive organ. So when you pass away in Islam, the same reproductive organ is made or replicated on the land, and then certain incantations are made, and then you go back to the reproductive organ of the feminine divine before the final closure and all those things. So this is my little contribution I have.
Fine. Ras, give thanks. As they say, Rastafari roots and culture. So Rastafari roots and culture also means that Rastafari, we're going back Sankofa to study who we are, our roots and our culture. So thank you very much for this wonderful contribution and explanation of our systems where the woman is concerned. I really appreciate this. Thank you. And Ja Beloved, you have the floor now. And Empress, I see your hand, but after Ja Beloved.
Thank you very much. That was a very solid presentation.
We can't hear you.
You can hear me?
No.
All right. Please give me 1 quick second. Let me see if I can relocate. Is it better?
Yes. Perfect.
Okay. Thank you. So first of all, very good presentation, Empress Sadia. And also my brother who just spoke. That was solid. That was very, very solid. Before I go on to mine, I have a quick question for you, Bafuwa. You did say something to the effect that there's no day dedicated to the worship of a male deity. Is that necessarily the fact? What about Kwame, Ochediampong Kwame, for instance, which the accounts believe was born on a Saturday? What about that? If you could give me a quick response, and then I will come in with my main submission, please. Bafuwa.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, greetings. Okay, so I'm trying to respond to the question that you asked. The original account concept recognizes the Kwame itself is a dual from the Ami. It's Ami So amigo is made up both physical, the male and the female. The Akan concept does not worship on Saturdays. The Akans do not have a day where we have a day where we do ceremonies actually dedicated. It is actually recognized, but there are no rules for Saturday. It is only the rules are for the Thursday, the Sasia, and then the Busu for the female. But the recognition is different from the day of ceremony and rituals. So on Saturdays, the Akans do not have a particular system or a particular ritual that is actually dedicated to the worship of Kwame. The name is mentioned as part of recognition, but there are no rituals that day.
I see. Okay. Thank you very much for that explanation. Thanks a lot. My other issue was with something that Bosco said, but I'll leave that to my submission, which is that we have a system where the female is very much recognized. That's a fact. That's something that I don't even mean to belabor because almost every speaker pointed to that. The thing, however, is this: we have culturally and subliminally imbibed some kind of influences which sometimes affect that same thing that we are here defending about how powerful the woman is and all of that. What do I mean? We have a saying in our very own Akan language that Obato tua etribema den. Okay? So how does a culture that puts the woman first, that observes and recognizes the woman as the goddess, that knows all these things, still have a saying like that? Right? Obato tua etribema den. Meaning, if the woman buys a gun, it's kept in a man's room. And our culture praises that. This is some of the things we hear, even at the chief palace. We hear this, things like this. We will also hear things like, Matisika Wario. As a man will say, Matisika Awario, I've spent money to marry you. Since when did marriage become a commercial enterprise? Right? But subliminally, we have imbibed this thing where it's common language to hear a man saying, Matisika Awario, I've pooled money to marry you. Whereas it was an agreement between you and the woman. Of course, maybe back in the day, the negotiation went beyond just the two parties, being the man and the woman. Families were involved. Okay. But even if we were to look at it like that, then how does the man lay claim to Sayin Sika to marry her? Then it's the family who should have that claim, right? So at the very least, you should say, my family, the Bushian Atisika Wario, but you don't hear them saying that. You hear Matisika Wario, which means the man is subconsciously assuming a superior role in the equation, and not just in the equation, but in society in general. Where do these things come from? Influences that we sometimes don't pay attention to, some of which is prevalent right now. I'll give an example. There's this concept called feminism, right? Now, back in the day, some of us used to say, oh, me too, I'm a man, but I'm a feminist because I support women. No, sir, I'm not no feminist, nothing. I'm somebody who is conscious of the role of the woman in my life, right from scratch, right from she being the person who was the conduit for even nurturing me before I came into the earth to start with. What did I say? So the bond between you and the female predates you yourself. It does. Because before you came to this world, that woman was nurturing you inside of her, right? So I know this. I don't have to be a feminist to know that. What does feminism teach our women? Feminism, and I hear people trying to reinvent the definition and all of that, but at the very base, there was this movement of trying to pitch women against men, right? Anything a man can do, a woman can do, and do even better. That is nonsense because it's not true. Everything that a man can do, a woman cannot necessarily do, nor do better. And it works both ways. Everything a woman can do, a man cannot necessarily do, neither do better. It's nature's fact. So to start propagating stuff like that, oh yeah, I'm a feminist, every woman power, everything a man can do. That to me marks the decline of our consciousness as a people. There's this play that I keep referring to. It's called Wind versus Polygamy. I forget the author, the playwright, is a Nigerian playwright. Powerful play, right? Because it addresses the question of polygamy, for instance. As a people, were we comfortable with living, for instance, and I know I've raised this before, but it's a subject that plugs right into what I'm saying, so I'm raising it again. Are we more comfortable with a society that puts women under a system called marriage with responsibility in a home? Or are we comfortable with having a system that promotes side chickism and prostitution and other stuff like that? And if we say, okay, what not, then let's face it, if we are all to go by the facts that have been put out that there are more women than men on earth, and you are balancing one man, one woman, where did the rest of the women go? Where do they get their sexual satisfaction from? Where do they get their sense of, let me use this word carefully, quote unquote, worth, right? Because marriage does not necessarily define the woman, but I'm saying for the woman who wants to get married and have the prestige of being a mother and being a wife and being all of that. If we are adapting a system which is forcing us to recognize uni marriages, right? If you marry more than one, you sin against God. Did our system show us that? Is that what it was? Some of us were brought up by our stepmothers. Some of us, and they treated us probably better than our mothers would have. I don't know. But I'm saying, once we have a system where, and let's look at this properly. And I'm winding up. If you look at the Muslim community, for instance, which have accepted that system where the man can have multiple wives, over generations, it becomes the norm. It becomes normal. The woman doesn't necessarily feel all these things that feminism is telling them that they should feel when they see their man with another woman, right? Over generations, that becomes the standard. Whereas over generations, when we leave our systems behind, where the man used to have multiple wives and build a family in a compound with, multiple wives and children living together and all of that, we leave that and start chasing after a system where once you see your husband texting, all your antennas go off, right? So now, over a period of time, we are leaving our system. Just a short while ago, I was talking to 757 about our agricultural systems and stuff like that. We leave what we know, and then we quickly run and go grab what we are told will work. And before we realize it's the opposite for us. In summary, all I'm saying is that, yes, we can be pro-woman, but we should not be fast to slap titles on ourselves. And concepts like feminism and all these other things, when they bring it to your door, examine it a little more closely before we accept them, right? Because maybe they may have some good things to share about empowering women and all of that, which is great, but like we've all agreed, we never put a woman down to start with. We never did. We never did. We know the role of a woman. We also know that we are not the same. What they can do, we cannot necessarily do. Or what we can do, they cannot necessarily. We complement each other, like Sadia said, right? And when we do our part and the women do their part, that's how this will be achieved. Final point. If you look at wars of liberation, if you look at
I'm making very good point, but we can't hear you well. Check your mic.
I'm sorry, let me reposition again. I'm actually wrapping up. I was just saying that if you look at wars of liberation, right, and you look at the role of women, there's no war of liberation that would have succeeded without the role of the woman. And you can take the Mau Mau uprising as the example, the role the women play in all different areas, transporting arms, cooking food for soldiers, caring for the wounded, showing people where to pass, where to hide, fronting and standing up in front of armed soldiers and telling them, no, the people you are looking for are not here. And if you walk past me, I'm going to put my backside down and curse you. Have you heard the story of Yas Santua, who walked to the British soldier who was dressed in white, stirred him up and down, spat on him, and realized that this guy could not even do nothing against a spittle. And that's when she realized that these people ain't shit. Let's go and fight them. It took a woman to do that. Give thanks.
Give thanks. Yeah, beloved. I don't know where this echo comes from. Yes. So, before I open for other people to respond to Ja Beloved, that play, Win versus Polygamy, we have to bring it back. As I'm here, I'm talking to the theater department so that we can restage that Win versus Polygamy play. When it comes, I think the Rastafari Council can talk with the School of Performing Arts, arrange for this to showcase. Is a great masterpiece. And then I would like to say, the patriarchal system, it's a system that was developed, by the Europeans. I think it came from Greece, right, to dominate women. Anyway, and that system is based on injustice and a lot of lies. It's a hypocritical system. So now let's look at it. This patriarchal system and the system that one man, one wife, I don't even know where that concept comes from, because that concept is not even biblical. Because in the Bible, it's men who have several wives in the Bible. Now the trend in America, I don't know other places, but in America, the trend there, now they have something called polyamory relationships. So the polyamory means that individuals, man or woman, can have multiple relationships, and they call it. That's not the open relationship, but polyamory means a woman can have several boyfriends or lovers, and the man can do the same. So that's something they are practicing right now, okay, among so many other cultures they have that I will not even repeat here, right? So their one woman, one man system is failing them. Now they have gone to incorporate polygamy, but they won't call it polygamy. You see, when they come to Africa, they learn our systems and then they go there, and then before you know it, they started implementing it. Mark my words, very soon polygamy will become acceptable in the West. But now they have their TV show where they practice what they call sister wives. Ja Beloved, I don't know if you've seen that show, the sister wives thing.
I have. And
Yeah. So now in America,
they won't accept multiple marriages, but they will accept multiple fornicating partners. That's fine.
Yeah. Whereby in Africa, it is declared. We know it. A man can have up to how many? King Azantilo in Busa land had more than 20 wives, more than 100 children, and concubines and counting. In our system, it is acceptable for so many reasons. It's just for nation building, and the family is like a family sustaining itself, like in business and in everything, right? But anyway, you made some very great and valid points, and I just wanted to emphasize on these few ones. The floor is still open. Sister Emma, if you're still here, I did see your hand up. If you still want to contribute and say something.
Give thanks.
Yes.
First, I want to give thanks for today's reasoning. It's really enlightening, and it's great reasoning.
Give thanks.
So, okay, so like when you're as a child, I remember they had a saying, say something about putting a square peg in a round hole, that it can't work. You can't put a square peg in a round hole. So we are caught between two systems.
Mm-hmm.
And really, it's how are we going to save ourselves? Because one system is opposed to the other system.
Mm-hmm.
And we keep trying to put the square peg in the round hole. We're taking things that we learn from another culture, right, and trying to fit it to African culture, and it can't fit because it's opposed to it. So, like, okay, for instance, okay, you were saying, polygamy, right? We didn't have any issue with it. I mean, there was no issue. It was a necessity. Right. Even now, it's a necessity. Otherwise, you have a lot of women without men. So it's a necessity. Yeah, it's a necessity. A man is not supposed to be, a woman is not supposed to be that she don't have no man. There's many women that don't have no man and no children. Right. So we didn't have problems. We had roles. And by what happened is through the institution of slavery, because slavery wasn't a person, it was an economic system. We were prisoners of war. Right. So through the war, they took us over. They took a change, those who came to the West, yes, what they did was change everything. They changed our language, like we communicate in the language of the oppressor where we are in the West, right? And then in Africa, they, because they talk about freedom, but it's only flag freedom, and most of our leaders have been taught by the same system that destroyed us, which is not natural. It's not natural if somebody does what they've done to us, that we keep trying to befriend them. So there's at some point we have to either step away or it will completely destroy us. And I think that's part of why we're here today is how are we going to recapture ourselves? And we have to admit that we might be at different points, but we've all been affected by the system that opposes our natural system. To hear the brothers talk today, I mean, it was like, it's just natural. That's part of our, we revered the woman because the woman holds the life in her body. Like he said something about there are things that a woman could do that a man can't do. Yes, and like he said, the other way around too. Right. And it's a balance. We always had a balance. So we didn't have a competition. It wasn't a competition of man. Well, you wanted to be a man and a man wanted to be a woman. Whereas their system, you know, man sleep with man, woman sleep with woman. That's their system, which we keep trying to fit into theirs, bring their system into our system. So at some point, we're going to have to step completely away or be annihilated. Thank you for the few words. Yeah.
Give thanks, Empress. Give thanks. Very strong points.
No,
So
Sadia, Doc,
yeah, yeah.
can I come in?
Can I finish my point? Then you can come in. I was
Very well.
responding.
The floor is yours,
So
please.
yes. How do we go back? I know as Rastafari, part of our Rastafari practices is to go back to our roots and culture. That means let's go back and study ourselves as Africans, not Europeans, because of the institution of slavery and colonialism. They came with a Western education to brainwash us. So we have to unlearn what they have taught us. We have to unlearn everything they taught us. And then we have to relearn our culture through our own lenses and practice our own cultures through our ancestors' lenses. And that is how we can redefine ourselves, embrace our culture, our spirituality, everything that we are has been stripped away from us through brutality. They didn't just do it, they came with many institutions also, and many, many years to strip us. So we have to go back and learn our cultures, embrace our cultures. Yes. And then my last point, and then you can come in, Martin, is that right now too, the West women are realizing that there is something in the Western culture about marriage is one man, one woman. And then they call something is cheating. If the one woman goes outside a relationship, she has cheated. And if the man goes outside a relationship, he has cheated. So when the cheating comes, most especially is that when the man cheats, the woman would file for a divorce and break the marriage. And after she has broken the marriage, she's single and now she wants to be remarried. Now she's going to marry a man whose wife divorced him because he cheated. And or she's going to be remaining single and dating married men or the same man that she divorced that's now married to another woman. So now we're seeing what a joke that system is. Yeah, the laugh is on us. So now we have to redefine all these things. These things.
Can I come in now?
Yes.
Very well. Thank you very much. At the beginning of your presentation, as they talk about emulating Emperor Haile Selassie, how he was crowned on the same day of his wife. And when you promote polygamy too, I'm a little confused. Can I emulate Haile Selassie at the same time, be a polygamist?
One of the brothers can answer to that. I will come later.
Can I quickly respond to that? Quick
Sure.
one. And I won't say this is their answer.
Please
But I'm
don't make it too long. Briefly and concisely answer so we can move forward.
So, yeah, in the same stroke, right? Then we would ask that why did His Majesty not wear locks and we are wearing locks, right? His Majesty is His Majesty. He's His King of Kings and everything, and he's also an individual. Okay, so it's his choice to make that, and I'm sure that, of course, it's symbolic, But at the same time, if we're to compare that, everything he does is exactly verbatim how we're supposed to do things, then we will also question how we wear locks in the first place, because His Majesty never wear locks. But I'm just saying, there are so many different cultures across Africa. Okay, so I don't think that we should limit our discussion also to maybe what may be considered Ethiopian culture at the detriment of all the other different cultures spread across Africa. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Also, I would say Ethiopia is the ancient African country, and a lot of us migrated from there. And I'm pretty sure polygamy is practiced in Ethiopia. So I would say if His Majesty was against polygamy as the emperor, he would have abolished it. His Majesty did not stop us from practicing our cultures. His Majesty is liberal and has allowed us as Africans to practice what we practice. He never condemned our practices. And when people came to him to say, why do these people worship you? He said, who am I to disturb their faith? His Majesty says no one should question the faith of others. So if you believe that you are a polygamist, I don't think anywhere His Majesty would say you shouldn't be that. His Majesty has interacted with a lot of kings across the world. I'm sure he's come across some polygamous kings. You understand? So we are African, we are Rastafarians emulating the example of His Majesty as well as being African. You, as the individual Rasta, you should define what being an African means to you. If being an African means to me that I should practice my traditional religion and I want to be a priestess initiated, I can do that because I'm an African and that's a way of my forefathers. And I'm still a Rastafari following His Majesty. I don't think His Majesty will stop me. So you as an individual define what you see as your culture. because Rasta is about roots and culture. Chieftains.
I asked that question because you talked about, you laid emphasis on the fact that Emperor Haile Selassie was coronated with his queen on the same day, at the same time, simultaneously. You put emphasis on that. You see, I think it was around that point that you cited the Bobo Shanti and things like that, their ritual or whatever, their tradition or whatever. So that is why I brought in this question. But thank you very much for your answers. Thank you very much.
You are welcome, Martin. The floor is open for more insights, more contributions. Welcome.
Can I
All right.
come on
Yeah.
board?
Greetings. Can I come in?
Okay. Okay, sorry. Can I
who wants to
proceed?
come in? Let him come. Yeah, you can proceed then later. I
Okay.
come in.
I wanted to ask something. Our brother Kwesi Beloved made a very important point that I want to clarify. You see, we are having this conversation in a slave master's language. So once you are having the conversation in a slave master's language, there are certain essences in our local language that will go over our head. When they say about tutua etribemadem, meaning when a woman buys a gun, it is laid in the room of a man. First, we need to understand what is the meaning of oyere and okunu. The oyere means the wife and okunu means the husband. There is a meaning to that word. The oyere and the okunu. The okunu is the husband. What is the okunu? The okunu is the one the one who does all the hard work, the one who labors for the family. That is the okunu. That is what it means in the Akan language. And when we talk about the wife is the oyere. When we talk about oyere, what does oyere means? Oyere comes from the word meyere wo. No pumping, to hold on strongly to. So whilst the man is bent over tilling the land, it is the woman's duty to hold her waist. That is the concept, the Akan concept, to hold her waist, to hold him in balance. So when the woman buys a gun, the man might not have money to buy a gun, but when the woman has the money to buy a gun, the woman is not expected to be the one that goes out into the bush to hunt. The gun is supposed to be used by the man to go hunting at night, to go and bring game to feed the family. So our forefathers made certain statements based on real-time philosophies and real-time ideologies. So when we talk about okunu, as when a woman buys a gun, it is laid in the room of a man. It has its connotation, meaning that the woman, like we just said, what a man can do, you understand, a woman cannot do it better. And what a woman can do, a man cannot do it better. Women do not go hunting to go and bring game to the house, but it is the men who go out there to go and do what? To go and do the hunting. So when she buys the gun, it does not mean that the man is superior to the woman. It means that the woman is only facilitating an agenda for the man to be able to do his manly duty, to do what? To feed the family. Secondly, when we talk about the sika, mati sika waro, meaning that I've paid money to actually marry. Women don't pay dowries for men. Now, the reason why men pay dowries for women is that the woman herself, when she's going to get married, she is in a state called the aketasia stage. The aketasia is the one who is the covered one, who is the wrapped one. The covered one does not mean the clothes. The covered one is actually talking about her reproductive organ called a che. A che is from the word a chen, or say patience. Where woman reproductive organ in Akan means patience. You have to be patient for that to be ripe. So when that is ripe,
then the man will use his corner, go and pluck. So you have to pay the dowry before you can pluck the right fruit. Let's understand the thing in the context of the language that our forefathers left us. So you have to pay. You understand? You have to pay for you to be able to unwrap the acacia because it's already wrapped. And the wrap, as I said, that is a divine space. So you need to do a whole bunch of rituals, a whole bunch of ceremonies, pay a high price before the family will give you their daughter for you to be able to use your kote to go na da kote adeɛ na abrɛ no. Somebody say, so I'll leave that one.
Yeah, my brother. My brother, a short question for you. You know, this etymology that you are propounding, could there be different other ones too? Could there be variations? Other people also having their own versions of Ukunu and Yiri and things like that.
Those ones are that's what I'm saying.
Bafo is maybe can help us if you're still here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, do you have other explanations, connotations to the interpretations that?
Not he having, but other people have. Yes, other wise men or other old ladies too can define or trace the etymology of Ukunu or Iri to a different source other than what he's saying. And I'm saying, is he aware of things like that? That is what I want to do.
Let me explain something to you. I'm not talking based off emotion. I'm talking based off 400 years of certified history. I come from Bantama. As I said, we have different types of tree. We have the enama tree, which is the modern tree, and we have the tree Kong. So I'm talking to you based on the tree Kong. What I said, I come and no kasa. I come any chilimu. So I'm giving you the etymology based on the Akan, and it's not Akan per se, Asante concept of Acatesia, Asante concept of Oyere, the Asante concept of Okunu. So I don't know any other explanations in any other languages, but I'm speaking based on the Akan or Asante concept. You see? So there are other variations in other languages, but I don't know those variations. And definitely, there will definitely be Inga. When the guys talk about Inga, what does it mean? It means that is knowledge, Inga, advice. When they are talking about Inga, means advice. Advice is knowledge. You understand? Advice is wisdom, just like Proverbs said. Proverb equates wisdom to woman. The same language the guys explain woman in their language. So yes, we can go on in all the other languages. We can find the definitions. But then I mostly approach these subjects based on the etymology, because that's what I teach at the university. You see, that's what I teach at the university. So first and foremost, once we are able to underline it from you, your language or which tribe that you come from, you'll be able to get a better understanding, because as it is now, we are still even talking about etymology and explaining it in a slave master's language. So we are still missing some points. Are you getting my point?
Okay. Yeah.
So that is what I have to. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so I think we were looking for other perspectives or interpretations, and so Bafo, you submitted the original points about the Obato tour, right? Yes. So yes. So now we want. Martin is saying if somebody else have another meaning to what you explained.
I raised the point, he reacted.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if I can call it a rebuttal, but I have a follow-up. Let me call it a follow-up. So if the explanation you've given is what is meant, then we have to do a better job at explaining what it means. Because every time I've heard that phrase used, the context is to pitch the masculine against the feminine, to be very honest with you. I've never heard Obato to them in the sense that anything of that sort. When I've heard this used is when someone is getting married and they are advising the lady from home, be subjective to your husband because Obato to a them. That's the context that I hear it used. So if what you've explained, which makes perfect sense to me, and I really love it, if that's what the application is, then it's really great. But we have to take context always, right, into perspective. Because like I'm saying, every time I've heard it used, it's never in a positive sense. It's to tell the woman that be subjective, because even if you buy a gun, you cannot keep it yourself. You have to keep it in your husband's room. That's the perspective I heard being used.
I perfectly agree with what you are saying. However, we also have to understand that 80% to 90% of our elders now have become Christianized, and they have lost the true understanding of the language. The true essence of the language has been lost. It's only a few people who really understand the essence of the etymology of these languages. So now most of them have become Christianized. Most of them have become very religious to a point where now they speak the language and they speak it amiss. So yes, what you are saying, you are not wrong. It is perfect. What you have heard this several times in other connotations. But then the same way that if you ask somebody who is a chief, say what is the meaning of Ohene, the person is going to tell you that Ohene means a chief. Ohene does never mean a chief. Ohene does not mean a king in Asante language. But then that one is a different subject. But if you ask any king right now, ask any Asante king, what is the meaning of Ohene? You say, oh, Ohene is the leader of the community. Ohene is never the leader. Ohene is never a chief. Ohene is a totally different understanding. But like I'm saying, they have lost most of these essences, and it is our time to bring it.
Can you summarize what Ohene is for us, please, in a line or two?
Okay. When we say Ohene, when you create a barrier, we have a bind. Every barrier, every wall is a bind. So like in your house, you have walls, right? The walls are a bind. So like everywhere, okay, let's use the example wherever we are seated right now. If you are in a room, you look at the walls in the room. The walls in the room is the bind, which is the wall, the barrier. But when you create the barriers and the walls, there is a closure. The closure is hini. A bind ano is to close. And in the same context, when the Asante man or the Akan man says, a friend is saying, hini means to close. The same hini can also mean hini epono than emami. So hini in the both senses means to close and to open. The closure and the opener, the one who has the keys to close and the one who has the keys to open. So most of the kings now, because they don't have the keys to open the rams of which the ram has been sacrificed on their feet. Because in Africa, there's only two things that we do what we sacrifice a ram for, or we put blood on. We put blood on our deities, and we put blood on the feet of the chiefs or the king or the queen mothers. When the blood is sacrificed and is put on your feet, you have been elevated from the human status. Now you have been given the right to sit and dine with divinity. So our chiefs and our kings and queen mothers, they are in the position of the physical entities or physical embodiment of divinity. But then once you are given that duty, as say in Koswahini, which is the development chief, you are given a spiritual key to open or to close. So if there's going to be development in the community, that key to open and close the development is in your hands. If you have been made the Emrantihene, which is the youth chief, then you have been given the key to open and close whatever advancement that will come to the youth. So every chief, every queen mother has been given a spiritual key to open and to close. He either has the ability to close it or the ability to do what? To open. So somebody can be a chief, quote unquote, with all the big retinue, but if you don't have that key to open and close, what are you opening and what are you closing? So you are just ceremonial. You don't even know that you are supposed to open. You don't even know you are supposed to close. That is why you find most of them who are church elders. And they don't even do libation. They don't do rituals. They don't do ceremonies. They don't do nothing because they don't know that they are supposed to open and they are supposed to close something. And if you're going to open and you're going to close, what is the key? You need a key to open, you need a key to close. You don't have the key. So where the pastor too cannot open for you. The Bible cannot open it. Quran cannot open it. Just say, it's only the ancestors who give you the key. But that key, in ancient days, in our tradition, when they do the ceremonies for you, these days they do the ceremonies 3 days, you are a king, you are a chief. 1 week, you are a chief. No. In ancient days, you spend months, sometimes years, you have to go and live in the bush. And then you will invoke spirits and entities, and those ones will teach you, apart from what your elders will teach you, they will leave you in the bush for you to encounter your own spirit. The stool that is being given to you, the stool that your ass will be put on 3 times, that stool becomes a deity for you. When we give you the stool and we give you the stool name, the energy that is given to you, which is the stool, it is the name of the stool that is given to you so you can communicate with the stool. Then the stool will have the ability to teach you what you need to know, the keys that you need to open, the keys that you need to unlock. But when you go and you are crowned as a king in 3 days, the ceremony, blah, 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 what are you opening and what are you closing? Watch what you say.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you. So let's go back to the woman. And now we're saying that Obama told to it about them. Rasquasi. The explanation he gave is perfect. And one Akan brother came. He gives the psychology of all these and how it's affecting women today. And it's going on what Rasquasi said. It has been used to dominate and oppress the woman in the marriage, whereby minama warrior. So whatever I say, even if he's saying something very, very unjust or nonsense or anything, because minamati misika awariu, and whatever I say, you should do it. So it has been used now in a negative way. But with what you have explained, Bafo, that means that we have to re-educate when people are getting married. These things we are learning, and as Empress Emma asked, how do we go back? We should start teaching our children. We should start instilling in our children the value of children themselves, the value of women, the value of men. Everybody is important. In the African community, we have a place for children. We revere children. They are a blessing. We love them. And same as women and same as men. So it's not for even a child to be oppressed and to be dominated. And it's a woman is not an object to be taking orders and inferior and, just go and sit somewhere. I said so because me na my warrior, those kind of things. Right?
Yeah,
Just
that's the purpose of marriage.
Yes. Just a short thing. I think that language is dynamic, isn't it? Language cannot be stagnant. It's dynamic. And then I want to ask Bafo, Akanfo, who is the head of the family? Who is the head of the family? And is it possible that a woman will become a Santihine? Is it possible that a woman will become a Santihine?
Okay, you need me to answer that?
Yes, and make it brief, please. Make it brief.
Okay. So that the head of the family, is the Ebusiapenyi. And in the Akan system, we have the Busiapenyi and the Oba Penyi. The Oba Penny has power over the Ebusia Penny. The Queen Mother has power over the Ebusia Penny. The Ebusia Penny, the head of the family, is selected by the old ladies in the family.
Okay.
Oba Penny
But
is there. The Ebusia Penny is there.
the nuclear family, not the extended family, the nuclear family.
The nuclear family, that is the man, the woman, and the children. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Who is the head of that one?
The nuclear family. Oh, the man, the woman, and is the man who is supposed to be the guiding principle of the family. The both of them, they are in partnership, but the woman has where she rules, and then the man has where she rules. What I say?
Yeah.
The woman, the man makes the house. The man is supposed to build the house, but in Akan, the man builds the house, and the woman makes the home. The man is supposed to build the house, and the woman is supposed to do what? To make a home. So there is no home where a woman is not involved. That is the concept of the Akan Asante system. No?
If somebody breaks the family, then we draft mine or what? So if there is no home, there's no family. So if you break the
when
home,
there's no woman,
then
there's
we
no
draft
home.
mine. When there's so then can you explain the concept? Just is it supporting what you're saying? A drama.
A drama is not only in fornicative, it's not a fornicative principle. Bibia obeye a edwa emino. They say the abomination that causes desolation. That is how the Bible describes it.
No,
Any abomination.
but I want you to limit it. I want you to limit it to the family. Where when you break the family, where drama, where that one particularly to the family. Where if the woman is not there, there's no home. Where there's a drama.
I know a different concept. I know like you have moved away from the vow, the covenant that you have with the covenant that you have with the woman. You understand? Because the first family, the first of mine, is the immediate family. That is why the woman is the owu of mine. Listen very well. Owu of mine. Owu oman ni mu na ebenya woman no no owu oman no nti before the oman or the state will come into being, it first has to start with individuals before it becomes the nuclear family, before it becomes the extended family, then it goes into the clan system, the community system, and then into the fekwu, which is the divisional system. So the woman, actually the beginning and the end of it, or the oman, the state, like I said in my first presentation, is actually the woman. So when a man, like I said, goes out of wedlock, the man goes out of wedlock. You understand? It is not considered as grievous as when a woman goes out of wedlock, because the man can leave the family and never come back. But the woman, she can never leave the family. At any point in time, the family, the woman, because without a woman, there's no family. Like I said in the beginning, no man in Akan or no man in Asante owns a family. It belongs to the woman. The state, the woman owns the state.
All right. Okay. Thank you. So Ras Asante, your hand is up. Who is the moderator? Let me give him the chance. Thank you, Bafo.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Give thanks. Yes, so
yes,
I do want confirm say the emphasis is on balance and not maybe
balance.
Maybe one gender above the other. Like we say Europe concept it be male chauvinism, like is characterized by male chauvinism. So we know sure say female chauvinism is an answer to male chauvinism, like we see some feminism things among Europeans. I think that one to get in implications, but what are they pick from the conversation? Be say we they look for a balance, or we they try and maintain that balance between man and woman. Because when we talk about God all the gods, they have their goddesses. So it's like there is a male-female balance, mostly.
Yes.
And then
in Africa,
as far
that
as
is in Africa.
We have other proverbs like Obato Nyadwa, Obato Nyadwa, Onton Tudru, which is not to limit the woman's capabilities, but to indicate those things that like and you wouldn't expect a man should handle it, like breastfeeding it. So maybe and a man must attend to. Sometimes we greet some of our old women and their response is, hey, bemena. So there is a certain concept also within the tradition where it's like just as we honor the male, we honor the female. We honor the female, we honor the male. So I want to appreciate that the conversation is more of a balance, which must be restored than, let's say, elevating one gender above the other. And like the European culture has, the sort of problems that the European culture has created. So that's the little I want to chip in.
Most definitely.
And also to get some minds on that. Give thanks.
Yes, I give thanks. Most definitely. Yes, I appreciate that. That's on track. So the patriarchal system refers to.
Sadia, let me just a quick question, please. 2 lines. So I was just saying that bare men, for instance, right, reinforces the need to reconsider polygamy because even the language is expressing that. The women are saying that bare men are rare. That's the literal translation of that. That's how they call men. Bare men are rare. If men are rare, then we should take a second. Give that.
And then if that's the case, polygamy is not just practiced as in, polygamy is a system. Before a man goes to take another woman when he's already married, he has to be in agreement with his wife that this is supposed, she agrees. Okay. And then the family comes in and he marries the other woman, and the other woman is his wife, bona fide wife, both 2 wives. But polygamy is not when you are married, then you are, dealing with other women outside there. Your wife doesn't know. That's not polygamy. So these are laws that operate correct. My grandfather had 3 wives, boldly married to 3 wives, boldly. These 3 wives, he built an apartment for the 2 side by side. The first, my grandmother was the first, and then the second wife was next to her. And then he lived somewhere else with his 3rd wife. And he came to visit all his 3 wives. The other 2, one lives with him. Now, when they all moved to my hometown and they all lived in one compound, me, when I go there to visit my grandparents, as soon as I go into my grandmother's room, put my bag down, I'm going to the second wife to go and greet her, and I'm going to the 3rd wife to go and greet her. And all the children, you can't tell whose child is who. Can't tell them apart. The other wife children live with my grandmother's children, and vice versa. Everybody support each other, pay their school fees, everything. You see? So that's the system. Now all 3 are dead. My grandfather is dead and the 3 wives are dead. They are all buried side by side in the house. So that's polygamy.
As intellectuals, let's also look at the other side. What are some of the disadvantages of polygamy? We are intellectuals, so let us, if you are supposed to write an essay, it's a debate, and what are some of the disadvantages of polygamy?
Social cohesion, because polygamy will mop up that situation where the women are desperate to find husbands. They are being rushed into marriages they don't want and all of that. And also living with stigma because they are called second wives or whatever else. It's shocking that people don't mind being called side chicks, but they would mind being called second wives. So social cohesion, first of all, right? A lot of the vices that we are fighting against will be very much limited. We can't say they will be completely eliminated, We can't say polygamy will completely wipe out prostitution, but it will limit it. You said disadvantages.
Not disadvantages.
Disadvantages of polygamy. I personally would just see, say, when people just start feeling jealous, that's where you see disadvantages. Otherwise, it's just social. See, even if you look at other life forms on Earth, right? We have ants, termites, for instance. Some type of they have one queen that services how many males. I'm not saying that should be our way. We are human beings. We are different, right? But what I'm saying is the system has been dictated to us. So if we take a look at how our ancestors used to live back then, we will see that there are ways there. But I get you. I personally don't see any disadvantages, honestly, except when we start to measure things against how the Western system is. Other than that, what's wrong with a group of people living together? If the women are comfortable, the only person who has to make the decision here really is the woman, because it's the woman who is going to agree that I'm going to share this space with another woman who has equal, strengths and powers as a female also, right? But I'm going to unite my energies with her to keep her home. So this will remain the central part of all of this. But to answer your question in short, personally, Rasmus, I don't see any disadvantages.
I was not talking on the personal level. Thank you very much. But when we come to Islam, I don't know the condition at which you can be a polygamist in Africa. But in Islam, there's a condition. You must love the wife equally. Equally. Is it possible?
Yeah, can I come in? Can I say something?
Yes, I was going to say, okay, after you say something, I just thought of an answer.
Okay, like to add to what my brother Kwesi, Jah Beloved, was saying, the concept of polygamy, I think, because of Western, quote unquote, Western civilization and adaptation of Western civilization, it has eroded the original concept of what we know polygamy to be. Polygamy was not just to satisfy sexual desires. So in the olden days, my grandfather married 12 wives and gave birth to 79 children. You see, and all of them, they were positioned based on their strength. You just don't marry a woman based on the big ass. You married a woman because this one is a very good, money maker. This one is a good trader. This one is a spiritualist. This one is this one. You married these women for purposes, and also because they were also conquering lands. When you marry or you give birth to the woman, you give her her own land. You and your children, you create your own dynasty. So all the 12 wives my grandfather married, they were all placed in different towns to create their own dynasty. So in those towns, they are his children and his grandchildren became the Odikro or the caretakers of those communities. So it was actually for nation building. There was a purpose to it. But these days, because the purpose has been lost, that is where we have disadvantages. But in olden days, when you cook, all the children are eating, so you can't poison my child, or this one cannot poison this one's child, because when you cook, it's not only your children, everybody's eating from the same bowl, including all the 20 children. They are all eating from the same bowl. It was unity, and everybody had their
disadvantage. Please, what are the disadvantages? Because now we know the advantages. Yes.
The disadvantages, as I know, is one, like the main disadvantage would be disillusion. You understand? Disillusionment. And maybe you loving one over the other, you taking the knees over, and normally it comes with the younger wives because you've been with this one for 30 years. They know for go some young one be with big, nice, shape and blah blah blah. Your attention is going to go, so those are things, the disadvantages, that comes with it. The inability to be able to, give them the same attention. And women love attention, and you must make sure that you are giving them all this equal attention. But those things can be rectified if the head of the wives, all the wives, they must all come and serve the first wife. So the first wife is the one who dictates. If the first wife knows and understands the concept of polygamy, all the women that come, they serve her. She becomes the godmother, and she's able to take care of all those things and cover the man. It's, at the end of the day in our system, even the other younger ones, when they go out, whatever, they have to come and pay dues to the first wife. But these days, it's not like that. So that's where the disadvantage come in now, because the second one, the third one is now coming to rub shoulders with the first one. The fourth one is not coming to rub shoulders with the rest of these ones. So that is where the disadvantages, come in. But from what I came to meet, what I came to see and experience, there was nothing like disadvantages because everybody was treated fairly and equally. You go here 1 week, next week over 1 week, the following day you go 1 week. So everybody had their time, everybody had their season. But these days, it's more of pleasure. So that is where the disadvantages come in. So that's what I know.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And then to add to that, Martin, you asked the question that they're instructed to love all of them equally, and is that possible? So this is my interpretation. You are supposed to love. Love means it's an action. Love is not a feeling, it's an action. So, like Bafor said, you know that women need attention. So there were laws. If you spend 3 days here, the next 3 days you are here, and the next 3 you rotate it. So to show that you love them equally, that's what you do. Whether you want to be with wife 1 today or not, and today you are supposed to be in wife 6 house, that's where you're supposed to be. So if you start spending more time with wife 1 and you neglect wife 2, 3, 4, problems will start. You understand? So the instruction to love equally is if you buy a car for wife 1, hey, buy for 2, 3, 4. If you can't do that, don't buy a car for anyone. If you buy a cloth for this one, if you slaughter a goat here and you are having a party here, do the same. If you slaughter that goat, take some meat around for all the other houses. That is what the love equally means. It's not like romantic European versions of love. Yes, Yes, so we've exhausted this topic, I think. We can leave it to questions, and I hand over to moderator to direct the rest of the session.
Yes, give thanks, Empress.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
sure all our questions have been answered at this stage, and all the necessary comments we want to make. Is there any other comment? We can take one last comment, and then we'll ask the speaker to give us her closing remarks. Any other comment?
Yes, my lord. Bobo Selassie, let me do some little comment.
Yes, all right, go ahead.
Yeah, going back a bit, I was going to touch on His Majesty and His Empress meaning concept because, leadership sometimes to show the highest exemplary life, sometimes it's not your choice, but you might be end up caught up in some type of life that have to even satisfy other members of society. So every day as a leader, you have to portray some culture, but there are other people in society which they are free to go under some laws. And so as a leader, you might be limited to some certain way of life to just to keep your challenges ahead of your time. And then also, to me, when it comes to the balance, I see male being like strong physically and trying to do everything physically in terms of command and hard and all that. But to me, female too, I see they are strong spiritually, like they are stronger in spirit than man. To me, that's how the balance is. So if these two things are put together, they have a perfect reflection of how life can be completely taken care of, or how life can be brought up. So to me, that is how I see. I don't see any negativity in the two till maybe when we're doing like more kind of Europeanization or European culture, because one of the courses I have experienced with the European teachings was they show a picture of a woman carrying a baby, carrying a heavy load on the head, and a man walking with the gun empty-handed behind him. And then they show that narration as the women suffer too much or the men exercise power over the women. But to me, in that class, I was able to explain to the Europeans that when I was young, as a young youth in my community, my house, we don't even see our father early morning or even a Saturday, like farm day. Everybody goes to farm until lately around maybe 10, 11, 12. Then you see our mother coming with food from the house. So all that she does is come and look for firewood and go back. But from the morning till number or the midday, everybody will be working as men in the farm. But mother will only come and look for firewood, and then even the food that she prepares, sometimes cassava yam or something, the young people or the father have to carry it back home. But when you watch for the European perspective of how they see African, they make it look like women are not being imbalanced in power or anything. But as some of the bridges contributed, they have days that honor our mothers and sisters, that they are specially worship or giving them special attention in society and community as African youth when I was growing up. So women hold special positions in our community, not like how the European system is trying to portray it. So at least back into our root and going back to our various communities and learning more about our culture. We shouldn't think that we know everything to as well. So we can still go do more researches and do more answers to some of the questions that we can be in a better position. So we know where we are as Rastafari children and what are the best culture and necessary ideas that we can keep up living as a community. Give thanks.
Give thanks. Give thanks. Great reasoning. Yeah, give thanks. Roots and culture. Rastafari. Rasbiro, today we haven't heard your voice, so you want to say a few words before we close?
No, I just take it in. So I give thanks for the opportunity still.
Yeah, man. Okay, respect. Okay, so in closing, I would like to say we as Africans, we had a system. We had our own institutions. Our institutions determined our spirituality, which we can interpret as our cultural practices through the rituals that we performed. Those made us who we were. We knew that there was an entity called God. The Akan said, Unyame, Unyana, Nawame, Ochere Diampon, Utrina Umpon. You know, I believe these were our ancient descriptions of a powerful entity. This entity was both male and female, and they coexisted for balance. I have heard that the sky was representing the male entity, and the earth, which our brother Bafor said is Yah, Asasi Yah, is the mother. So they will have intercourse in the form of rain. So when the sky opens and have intercourse with the earth, it will be water, it will be rain, and the earth will take seed and flourish, would germinate, and all life forces would come, spring up. We have food, we have water, we have the streams, the trees. We use that for medicine. We use that for everything to balance ourselves. So that was the concept. Atana Anyumo, God, Father, Mother, God. That's how we lived. Then we encountered a people who came from some foreign lands with a long stick, a long fire stick in their mouths. And they came with some guns and some books. And they said, from today on, we have imposed on your land and you must do as we say. And they brought their system, which is called the patriarchal system, which is a social structure where men hold primary power and dominance over women, influencing family dynamics and broader societal institutions. So when they came here and they brought their educational systems and stuff, there was division among man and woman in our land. So, men went to school more and women stayed at home. They were the homemakers. So the more men became educated in the Western man's ways more than the woman and had jobs that took him out of the house to, started traveling around the world and leaving the woman in the house. It created more and more chaotic and imbalances within our structure. So today, as Rastafari, we want to know that we practice our roots and culture, and we must go back to Sankofa, go back to our roots and embrace our own culture and know that if we erred and thought that the woman was inferior and weak, that today we know that that will be a dishonor to womanhood because every man, as has been stated earlier, came from a mother. Every man came from a mother. A woman is your mother, your sister, your auntie, people that nurtured you, prayed for you, loved you, and cared for you and protected you cannot be seen or dishonored to say that she's weak and she's subordinate. No, she's a partner, an equal partner, a wise person in the home. And therefore, we must embrace our roots, uplift our women, and restore the divine order within the Rastafari family as we practice our roots and culture. So I give thanks for the reasoning and for everybody participating. And we know that we will bring more insightful topics to discuss again in the affairs that concern us. Rastafari.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Empress Dr. Sadia, for the presentation and for giving us so much to think about and to work